everybody? Welcome to Comics All Mode, the podcast where we talk about comics, TV, movies, video games, anything geek culture. I am, as always, Russ, and with me, as always, is Landon, of course.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the podcast.
Yeah, welcome back. We just life got busy last week.
We are like not on track, like at all.
Yeah.
I was going to put out a solo episode last week, but it didn't happen. And then Russ had a solo episode, our previous upload, and it's just like all over the place. But we're back, both of us. Yeah. Boom. I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just one of those things that sometimes, life is what life is. And so,
it's true.
That's
sometimes that's just the way it goes. The hand we're dealt.
Exactly.
But we got a lot of stuff to talk about today, dude.
A lot to talk about. Yeah, that is an understatement of the century. I'm trying to get my my show notes. Okay, so we're going to talk first. Let's talk the news real quick.
Sure.
Because that was kind of the biggest thing for us. Is there's a lot of stuff that happened, and obviously we are very late to it at this point.
A little bit. We're like a week behind with the news. But
yeah, biggest news is that Hugh Jackman is coming back as Wolverine, as well as the fact that Deadpool is coming out.
Heck yeah, dude!
Like April 2024.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of film releases got pushed back for like phases 6. I think Kang Dynasty got moved because they're figuring out the writers. Deadpool, Blade is a mess.
Yeah, a lot
of those things got moved.
Moved around. And so, so Deadpool's coming out. We've got confirmation. Hugh Jackman's coming back, which the biggest thing about that is just the fact that we might finally actually get a comic book accurate suit with Hugh Jackman.
Wolverine team up, awesome. Yeah. Comic accurate suit. It's gonna be good.
I have a feeling Hugh Jackman's Wolverine will be a kind of a multiverse.
Yeah, version. It'll be like a variant, like a Loki situation. It won't be the one that died in Logan because.
Well, and not even that. I don't think Hugh Jackman is going to be the MCU's Wolverine.
No, me neither.
Like I think they're going to like pull him out of some random universe somewhere. I mean, Here's the thing though. Here's the one thing is that there's a feasible option in which they decide, you know what, screw it. Deadpool 3 is going to still be in the quote-unquote Fox universe, and that's how Logan shows up, because essentially, like, this can be before the end of before when Logan happens. Like, Logan happens far enough in the future.
I mean, the Fox timeline is so screwed up.
But that's the thing. It's like this could be in the Fox timeline, and then at the end of the movie, he jumps through a portal or something happens where the multiverse pulls him into the MCU, and then boom, there you go. Yeah. Now he's there.
I kind of feel like they're itching just to have Deadpool concretely there. I think it'll just start off with like some weird thing. Is it my headphones? I don't think that would have anything to do with my volume.
It can't be me because
how's that? Is that a little bit better?
No, you are so loud.
I'm super loud. I'm super loud.
Yeah. You're like blowing out my eardrums.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
I turned it way down. Okay.
Yeah, that's better. You're like on the waveforms. You're like maxing out on everything.
Oh yeah. See, I'm not practiced in podcasting right now because I've missed a couple weeks. I feel like, but yeah. My point was, I think they're just gonna put Deadpool straight in the MCU. I think it's just gonna open up with it. But the biggest part of this is Hugh Jackman said he wasn't gonna return. Like Logan was his swan song. So I'm glad that he's back. I'm really glad.
But I was listening to another podcast last week, and they made a point is that Jackman never actively said that he was officially done with Logan. He whenever they asked him about this being the last time he was Logan, he always actually made a caveat about like, it would be really cool to be in the MCU, like being with those characters.
It would be
in the sandbox. So he always had that caveat, but like people forget because like Logan was the perfect movie to end end on.
It really was. I mean, it killed him. It seemed like a great endpoint. I think if I would want to see Hugh Jackman return, I'm kind of right there with you. I don't want him to be the main MCU Wolverine, but I do want to see him at least for once team up with that great iteration we have of Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool. Like, I need the two of them in a film. Like, that needs to happen at least once.
Yeah, they're really good friends. Ryan Reynolds and the director for this movie are really good friends too.
From Stranger Things. I forget his name. But
no, he's the guy who did Free Guy.
He did Free Guy, but I think he directed a couple episodes of Stranger Things as well. Nice. I forget his name. I wish I remembered.
Yeah, but I never remember any of these people's names. I have a hard time remembering
along with this whole announcement, they had a great little marketing video too. Like, Ryan Reynolds, man, the king of marketing, he's churning them out.
Well, this also came out. This came out on a Tuesday, a random Tuesday.
Yeah,
and we were all
super,
like, why?
Super random.
Why is this happening? Well, what also happened that Tuesday is that
I remember.
It got leaked that Blade is an absolute crapshoot.
Oh yeah,
like
really bad.
Blade is just in the gutter. It lost its director.
Terrible script.
Apparently,
it's ground floor rewrites. Really bad.
Ground floor rewrites by Mahershala Ali too. Like, Mahershala Ali is helping. Like, he is like really in there.
I knew that he wasn't happy with it. So yeah, I think he's definitely gonna get his hands a little bit dirtier. But yeah, that production, man, and that's one of the things that was moved back. You know, so I hope they figured that out.
It didn't get moved back too far. It literally only got moved back like to 2024 and like mid 2024. So it's not like it's not a huge setback, but it is one of those it got moved back.
Yeah. For sure.
Another
great MCU thing came out last week. You want to talk about?
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say. That's one thing I was going to say is with the success of Werewolf by Night that just came out here last week, people have been kind of calling for Giacchino to direct Blade.
Oh, and that would be a great pick.
I honestly think that'd be a great pick.
That'd be fantastic. That's a no-brainer.
He can do the score. He's amazing. He's the guy who scored The Batman. He scored Werewolf by Night and Werewolf by Night.
All the Spider-Man films. Amazing. No Way Home.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
He's a great. He's got an ear, but he also, as we can see from Werewolf by Night, he's got an eye.
Yeah, he does.
We've both seen it. I loved it.
I watched it day one.
I thought it was amazing. I watched it. Yeah, I think I watched it either day one or like the next day it came out.
Dropped on a Friday.
So good.
Great Friday.
Good. Just black and white.
Love that.
Very reminiscent of old school horror, but still felt new school enough that it was like, okay, this fits in the MCU to me at least. Dude, like Man-Thing was awesome.
Man-Thing was great, dude.
But like,
I love Ted.
The biggest thing I loved about Man-Thing is like, it was such a like a shadow drop with him. Like, they didn't really show off that he was in it. They showed like one scene that he was in it, but they really hyped up the guy that was going to become the werewolf,
and he was great.
The big cat. And he was
awesome.
Great. But like, it was really cool to like have it start out with like the big bad being Ted, and like have that whole like the story. Just, I was like, wow, like it feels almost resolved, and then they throw in, the monkey wrench, and I'm like, oh, okay, now I get where we're at. And dude, casting great
cast,
everybody's
great
cool.
director.
I'm really excited to see like where these characters pop up in. I love the use of black and white, and I love the use that at the end you do get color. Like, I love that it transitions into color.
Wasn't that interesting?
That was really cool.
You know what the weird thing was with that stone and how it did transform everything into color? Dude, I got crazy Reality Stone vibes from that Bloodstone. Did you get that feeling? Yeah,
I mean, that's
like, it felt like the Reality Stone kind of warping things and has powers.
Any powerful weapon in
could be it's just a reality. Phase 1 through 3, make it an Infinity Stone.
Look at it and be like, hey, that looks kind of like that has kind of like minded powers of like whatever.
That'd be sweet, though. Speaking of Bloodstone, Elsa Bloodstone, Laura Donnelly was fantastic. See, she was not a character. Like, one, I'm not familiar with this character. I know that she hunts monsters. Yeah. She was in this Puzzle Quest game, Marvel-based theme that I played for the longest time. So I was kind of familiar with the name. Right. But, like, she was great. And she had this feud going on with the Bloodstone family. You have all these monster hunters in there, and she's kind of not one
Marvel's,
of them, but I love the tension there.
Cinderella. It's Marvel's Cinderella. She was going up against her evil stepmom.
Oh yeah, that's kind of true. Yeah, she was great. That little villain, evil stepmom kind of deal. Cool. She was kind of crazy and unhinged.
CG, the design of the werewolf was really cool. Still, I thought because that's one of those things that, especially with werewolf designs, it's very hit or miss.
Yeah,
and this one was very classic monster horror.
Yeah,
could look really cool. You know, they can always bring, you know, John Jameson in as
there you go, the Wolfman, or he's got a couple of superhero identities, right? He's got that bouncing Captain Jupiter thing going on. He's like a werewolf sometimes. It's just a weird character.
But, it was really good. I really do I totally agree with everybody who's calling for Giacchino to direct.
Give him more projects, man.
I think that's a great choice. is very good.
One shot of it's in the trailers, and it was kind of hyped up as the shot in the series, but when Elsa Bloodstone is against the cage and she's cringing from Jack Russell's transforming, and you see in the silhouette in the background his body is contorting and he's growing, and finally the werewolf comes out, and that slow push in onto her terrified expression. Great shot, dude. That was an incredible shot. But even just maneuvering through the maze, I love a good maze in something. It's very The Shining, Maze Runner, creepy maze. Yeah,
she got her go-to crossbow.
I think she has cool. There's a shotgun on the wall, and I know Elsa Bloodstone's kind of associated with a shotgun as a weapon, and then the crossbow.
No, it's a crossbow, but I like the idea that it's now a wrist rocket. I think that's really cool.
I thought that was cool, and see the fight choreography too. I was surprised at how good some of the one-on-one, hand-to-hand combat stuff was, because werewolf, you don't really think we're going to be doing some crazy kung fu maneuvers. He's just going to be slashing everything, which we got. That was great when he just goes to town on the guards. But, Bloodstone and all the hunters, the way that they fought each other was dude, this whole project was gold. Hour runtime, beautiful.
Yeah. It didn't overstay its welcome. It gave you enough. That was the thing, is I didn't know how much I was going to enjoy the classic horror, the classic horror element of it. But the story kept pace that I was fully sucked in the entire time. And by the time it ended, I was oh, that was really good. I didn't think it overstayed its welcome. I didn't think it was too long.
The other thing too is I feel like it has some connections to the MCU, but it's kind of like Moon Knight, where it doesn't rely too much on the fact that it is in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's kind of its own thing. And I could totally see, Jack Russell and Elsa Bloodstone, the Werewolf by Night Man-Thing. I could totally see them kind of maneuver into the Blade stuff, especially if Giacchino takes over. Throw a little Moon Knight in there. Dude, we're building to the Midnight Suns. Everybody's saying it. I'm excited.
For sure. I think a perfect person to add into that would be Kit Harington's Black Knight.
Get Black Knight in there, dude.
I think that'd be a great character.
Heck yeah.
I'm really happy that the only MCU tie-ins that they had was that intro monologue.
The whole Marvel intro with the comic pages was different. The theme was different.
No, not even that. They're talking about, and they're showing these hieroglyphics. And they're talking about the whole thing. That's when they're talking about the Avengers and different superheroes and everything.
I think that's the first frame, right? Is that Avengers old school?
I love that was the way they brought in the MCU.
I like that. Yeah.
I think it was very, I'm glad they tried to keep it separate from it. So in other news, the next thing on our list is that, Henry Cavill's back in the news with the whole Superman project. Yeah. That is so up in the air. Nobody knows what's happening because we've had multiple reports over the last couple of weeks that he is in talks with Marvel. To play something, to do
even back
something.
When D23 and Comic-Con, like he's been in the rumor mill for a while. What's he doing?
Hyperion, he was going to show up in D23. Everybody thought everybody was going to show up.
And then it was like he got COVID and he couldn't come. But like, is that really true? Who knows? Now you got The Rock obviously hyping up Black Adam, and he's trying to get people.
Next week.
He's trying to get people reinvigorated in the DCEU because he's kind of positioning himself as the savior of like the remnants of the Snyderverse and whatever DC is doing. He's like, I'm going to put all this in Black Adam. And he's like, I'm going to save this. Black Adam he's like positioning himself as the cornerstone of the DCU. Apparently he's good friends with Cavill as well. Like I've seen some interviews where he's like, yeah, dude, this is our Superman. And he's like hyping up this big thing, and because it has me excited.
There's very few people who could play like a Superman and go up against someone like The Rock, and it actually feel like it makes sense.
Even just from a physical standpoint, like he's almost unmatched in Hollywood by his physique and his size. So Cavill. We need him. We need Superman. The DC EU needs Superman. No brainer.
Yeah.
And he's perfect. So I like this. I'm actually really excited for Black Adam now. They've released a couple of clips that I've seen. Never thought I'd say that I'm excited for Black Adam because it's kind of been like that black sheep of the DC properties. Like this has been in development for 12 years. Is it going to be good? Probably not. Flash is having problems. DC's a mess. Warner Brothers is tanking hard. But I'm kind of liking what I'm seeing from this whole project. So, if Cavill's in it, home run.
At the end of the day, for me, I gonna scooch my chair in. At the end of the day, I do not care. The only thing I care about is I care about like the JLA look really cool, and that's pretty much the only reason I'm going to be watching this movie.
Dr. Fate,
I like The Rock, but I like The Rock when he's trying to be funny.
Yeah,
I don't like The Rock when he tries to be serious because he just comes off just. Bleh.
I don't really care for him as Black Adam because he's not Black Adam. He's just The Rock in like this Black Adam sort of cosplay. Like he doesn't feel.
We have yet to see.
We have yet to see
if it works because like Black Adam's character doesn't do much anyways. Like nobody cares.
He's kind of one note. I feel like I don't know much about him. I don't want Black Adam people coming after me. But
that's why I've always said that like I don't want this movie. I want him to show up in a Shazam movie because then I actually give a crap.
Dude, that is a home run waiting to be produced. Is just put Shazam, Superman, Black Adam. Like they did that in the animated shows, and it was cool.
It would be sick.
Anyways, The Rock as Black Adam is like my least excited thing about the Black Adam movie, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
But hey, honestly, it's coming out. It's coming soon.
As Dr. Fate is really the
ticket. That's going to put me in theater.
Really Easy. The ticket. Okay, so you put comics? In here. So let's talk the news of comics because you put in here Dark Web teases Chasm's return and Gold Goblin tease. I think I know
that's
where
just because it's all over the Spider-Man books.
Okay. Yeah, so I just finished reading the Spider-Man today. They reintroduced Hobgoblin. It looks like it's gonna be we don't know who it is. Yeah, so it just came out today.
Typical Hobgoblin. We don't know who he is.
Yeah, so we don't know who it is because it's definitely not Roderick Kingsley, who's the original. No, he's actually in this book, but he's the original Hobgoblin.
Oh, shit.
And then the other Hobgoblin that was like way back was brainwashed. Ned Leeds. Yeah. He's in this book as well.
Interesting.
Not sure if he is the Hobgoblin or not. But we shall see. Again, dude. So here's again, we're gonna. It's not a comics a la mode podcast unless we shit on homie's art.
Romita, come on.
They let Romita do the cover.
Yeah.
For this week's issue, and like, I'm sorry, someone needs to look at that cover and go, you know what?
This isn't good.
We need to get a different artist, because dude, it looks like the Hobgoblin looks like a homeless man who like didn't like. He looks like a 75-year-old homeless man that his skin is just like leathery and icky because like one of those, he got sunburned and just stayed out in the sun and baked.
One of those homeless guys who does bath salts and just like rips your face off and he just kind of dangles it in front for the comic cover. It's not dynamic. Dude. We don't like it, weird. But it wouldn't be comics a la mode without shitting on John Romita. So
weird.
But I love and I'm kind of excited for all the Spider-Man stuff coming our way, dude. We got Dark Web, which teases, Chasm. I don't know anything about Chasm. I think we briefly talked about his design on one of the earlier podcasts this year.
So Chasm is the new alter ego for Ben Reilly.
Yeah. But I didn't read any of that stuff. Like I wasn't picking up Spider-Man when Chasm came out.
What happened is that the company was something. They were like brainwashing him. So think Winter Soldier sitting in the chair.
Yeah.
When and like wiping him. Essentially, they were wiping his. They were like brainwashing him at points, and they went too hard one time. And so at certain points, like that's why he's called Chasm now, because his like brain is like losing memories.
Oh, that makes sense.
Very interesting. It's very weird.
Did he manifest new powers through these
no, he just got a really
or what?
Dope new costume.
That's I love that design, man.
We don't know if he got new powers, but like it looks like he might have some type of new powers. We'll see.
Yeah. Speaking of new designs,
he is going to be an anti-hero.
I was going to say, speaking of new designs, dude, Gold Goblin. Did you see that tease in the Dan Slott run, number one?
Okay,
I've kind of been looking ahead on Marvel.com too, because I'm trying to keep updated with what's coming out.
So I read that issue because I picked up the cover because one of my favorite artists, Ryan Stegman,
of Slott's run.
Yeah, of Slott's number one with Bagley.
Yeah, came out last week. Pretty good.
Actually, amazing that I didn't pick up a Bagley issue, but Stegman had a
sick. That's way better than the actual cover.
Yeah,
which is this classic.
I like that, and I should have picked one up because
I'll trade you.
Mark Bagley is one of my other favorite artists.
I'll trade you.
Like I really like his art, so I will get anything. I actually have.
Is that going on the wall?
There's multiple Spider-Man Bagley art on the wall.
Dude, did I see a?
I have one with Venom down here.
I see a McFarlane Spidey. Is that a Dark Avengers cover? Right next to Ghost Rider and Spidey. Is that a Dark Avengers cover?
No, that's a secret Avengers cover. I found it for $1.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I love that.
But
what'd you think of Dan Slott's Spider-Man?
I thought it was cool. I've never been a huge Spider-Verse fan. I've always felt the story just they've never really made sense. Like
Except for the movie, right?
The movie actually knows what it's doing. The runs haven't really known what they've been doing. They really just felt odd.
It felt like it went on forever too.
I liked the first Spider-Verse event, like the very first one when this all started kicking off with Moreland. And
dude, speaking of Moreland,
like they added PS4 Spider-Man into the series at one point.
I remember that.
So it just got
a one shot.
Yeah, it just got weird.
Moreland's back in this issue. I don't know much about the comics.
I do like this issue. I do like this issue.
I liked it.
I don't like that they killed Jessica Drew.
Dude, I think that was a little unearned. Jessica Drew, Spider-Woman, so what is the villain? It's like a wasp type situation.
She's an old villain. I've never read any issues. Yeah, I've never read any issues with her because she's been an old villain.
I'll tell you what,
so
dude.
It's cool that they're bringing her back. But again, the biggest sell for this book is the fact that Bagley is doing the art. Like, honestly, like, I love Slott, and this is definitely a Slott book. This is definitely a Slott book through and through. So he's going to write the crap out of this.
Yeah.
I had issues with Slott for a long time because he was on Spider-Man for 10 years.
I remember, he was on there for a long time.
After the first, like, 5 years, he started I didn't like a lot of the stories.
We need to switch it up a little bit.
When he announced he was leaving, he did some of the best Spider-Man books. Like, literally, the last 2 arcs of his Spider-Man were just bomb because Green Goblin got the Carnage symbiote and became Red Goblin.
Oh, he did the Red Goblin stuff?
Flash Thompson died, and then the whole J. Jonah Jameson thing. Like, really good stuff. So having been able to take a break from Slott and on Spider-Man for a while, I'm actually really excited to see him back. I think he's gonna. This is absolutely a Slott story. Like, this is very much a story that, like, he's gonna write the crap out of. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
I'll tell you what, dude. You mentioned Spider-Woman getting like wasp or whatever, but. Spider-Woman's like my girl, man. When it comes to the Marvel universe, man, she's got that classic costume. I think that design is incredible. Jessica Drew, really great. She's involved in like every event. Every time she pops up, I'm like, yes, love to see her. So when she got stabbed by Spidey Noir, who like pops out of a portal, it's like, oh, we're doing a Spider-Verse, and then he's like, boom. Like I was like, no, we can't do this.
It's interesting too because we're coming in after the fact. Like, we missed a chunk of this, and so we missed the part that Spider-Man Noir like got infected and became evil. So like that was the one thing that I was like, okay, well, I should have probably you know what, I should have gone back and read, but also like, man, I wish they would have, like, I don't know, I wish they could have.
I think it's fine. I think it's just like, here's your typical Spider-Man, you know, he's stopping some crooks, and then, you know, the public loves him. They're chanting for Spidey. You got some multiversal Spider-Man like checking in on him through a portal. It's like, oh, we're doing a Spider-Verse, and then Noir pops out, and then he betrays everybody, and then it's like, oh yeah, your allies are coming, but they're not your allies anymore, they're your enemies. And then that last page, and
Moreland goes, hey, I'm your ally, like, I'm here to help you. I thought that was cool. I think especially because, dude, if they would have came back and been like, oh yeah, Moreland's the bad guy again, it's like, no, please, just kill Spider-Verse just quickly and painlessly, and don't let us read about it.
I'm not really interested in Moreland. Like they had a Marvel Legend come out of him, and like it was big and it was cool, but like I don't like the design. I don't like that old 1500s kind of style clothing that he wears. He's a vampire, kinda. It's just not an interesting design, and he just doesn't grab me. But I do like seeing a former enemy kind of come about and kind of help the hero. Like that's kind of what Mr. Sinister is doing in the Axe event, you know, with the Eternals and the X-Men and the Avengers and stuff. Like Mr. Sinister's kind of there, and he's throwing quips around, which is not what I know Sinister to be. But like, I kind of like when a villain kind of helps out.
He's is snarky sometimes. All right, so before we move on to TV, I'll talk like my thoughts on Captain America: Sentinel of Liberty. I loved this book. I thought this book was great. I'm super excited too because New York Comic Con was last weekend, and what we find out is that this book is leading into a crossover event with Sam Wilson's Captain America book. And they're dropping a one-shot called Captain America, or it's going into an event called Captain America Cold War. Bucky is we're getting a new suit for Bucky because at the end of this issue we find essentially he's going to become one of the actual, like, the people of the circle, the 5 point, the star, what are they called? I can't remember. A Revolution. He's going to become Revolution because he shoots Revolution because he shoots Cap. He's getting a new costume. I think it looks sick. It's very like reminiscent of old school Winter Soldier, but new school. So he's all black. His arm is very much that is the circle tech, not like his old arm. So it looks like that robot that Cap faced.
Oh yeah,
and then he was
Redacted.
like, hey, come on. Yeah, Redacted.
I like Redacted.
His arm looks like that. Looks
Sick.
like that type of metal. So it looks really cool. And then he has this cape that has the star on it in red. So again, this is it's very reminiscent of Winter Soldier because of the star and all black, and he has a man bun, which I thought was cool because you know what, at some point,
your boy is rocking a man bun.
At some point, your boy is gonna go to Comic-Con, and I'm gonna need a character that has a man bun. So if they're gonna rock Bucky with a man bun, I love Bucky. Also, huge thing that I'm super excited about with this event, Captain America: Cold War that's coming out. They're bringing back Ian Rogers, which
I don't know anything about that.
Okay, so there was a run before Cap got the serum pulled out of him, and then that's when Falcon took over as Captain America and all this crap. Before that, Cap got sent into Dimension Z, and found out that Arnim Zola had taken over the entire dimension and turned it into like his personal thing. What he ended up also doing is he created 2 clones. Cap broke out of prison and stole the clone, the son, the boy clone, and so he raised him as his kid in this dimension. So this kid and so then the whole event went on. This kid got older. Cap thought he died once he got back to the real world, but then something happened and he was able to come through the dimension, through into the real world, and he became the new Nomad. So his costume is really sick. It's blue and gold. It's very much reminiscent of the Nomad costume. But he's coming back, and I'm super excited about that because I really like that character. I think they need to do more with that character, especially, I want to see more of the Captain America's like father figure role. I think that would be really cool. I think having Ian play a part in the Captain America story moving forward would be really cool to like give, I love Bucky, but like also then having this other character is amazing. So I'm just really excited. I love when we finally get Captain America events. This whole run has that Brubaker feel that I love. That's what I just geek out about. And so I'm very happy with this book. I
really liked it. I just wish we got more Redacted because he's there, and in the previous issue he was like, I'm going to team up with you guys and help you bring down the circle and the 5 stars.
He's a MacGuffin.
But they tease like there's somebody in there, and I'm still waiting to find out what's going on with that.
Well, they did. They did that. Like they didn't show what like specifically who was in that suit. That is Redacted, but they showed the other. It's probably a nobody.
Yeah, I feel like there's a story there. He's got cool powers. He's like interesting, and he's cool new
powers because of the suit.
Yeah, I'm interested.
Of them. So,
I feel like if they're introducing this new organization that's had their hands in everything, and if they want Winter Soldier so bad, like I feel Redacted is part of that somehow. Especially if like Winter Soldier is going to join the circle.
I think Redacted I think Redacted is the like evolution of what they were using the Winter Soldiers for.
Yeah,
and then they were like, well, these guys are just not reliable. So instead, we're going to fully brainwash the people and turn them into these alien/robot thingies.
For sure. He brings down the house too. He's like all this stuff. Doesn't matter.
I do think we'll see more of him. Absolutely.
He's super OP. Like he just tears that whole facility down. It's crazy.
And I think that's where I loved this book so much is because it really focused in on Cap and Bucky's relationship. It really focused in on that, and that's what I love to see. That's the only reason I want Bucky in Captain America books is because I want that. They have such an interesting relationship, and it's never given to us very well. It's always kind of like unspoken and just like like bits and pieces, but this really dove into it. I really loved that. I just really love that.
Speaking of OP characters and good dynamic between sidekick and main hero. We got Zdarsky Batman, number 128. Did you read it? What did you think? I'm loving this book. It's probably my favorite right now, to be honest with you.
I'm kind of burnt out on Failsafe.
Oh, I'm not.
Here's the thing. I really wanted this issue to wrap it up.
The Failsafe arc?
Especially with how the last issue left it. I thought Batman learned what he needed to learn in this, and I thought this would have been a good issue to wrap that up. Let Superman save him. Like, let's, hey man, thanks. Sure. Especially because this is like all harking back to Tower of Babel. And so it's like, it's very much
plans and his contingencies for the Justice League and all that stuff.
So I enjoyed this book. My biggest issue is that Gotham has been taken over by 3 people in literally like 6 month period, like space. So Gotham became City of Bane.
Yeah.
Batman stopped him. They cleaned up the city, and then all of a sudden, oh no, sorry, you're now God's fear state. Scarecrow takes over the city. Oh, sorry.
The Joker had something in there too. Yeah. The Joker Riddler war.
Yeah, we're gonna start cleaning up the city. Oh, you know what? Sorry, the Joker just took over Gotham. Sorry.
The designer. I think the designer.
Yeah, that was the designer and the Joker.
Gotcha.
And then it's like, oh, we're gonna clean up the city again, and then
now we got redacted.
Failsafe just took over the city. Sorry, Batman lost again. He's gotta recoup and help bring the city back. I don't like that.
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement with you there. I love the idea of Failsafe being the contingency for Batman awakening because Batman is perceived to be a murderer now because of the Penguin. I love when kind of you see the Justice League come out to help Batman. This issue probably was my least favorite, but I'm still loving it. But I did not like where it ended because of your exact reasons. It's another villain taking over the city. And it's a robot. Like, it's not super interesting. I think it's cool to see how they're going to take it down. Yeah. But the fact that it's a robot taking over a city is kind of like, eh. And it's once again like the Justice League getting annihilated, which is already happening in Dark Crisis. It's like the Justice League died again. So it's like, why are we... It kind of felt like the Zdarsky run was building to something really cool, and then it's like, oh, we're just taking over Gotham again, and we're just killing the Justice League again.
Yeah, and that's kind of that.
Something different.
I think that's the biggest issue for me is that Zdarsky's Daredevil is doing something very different.
Yeah, it feels different.
It's doing something unique. It's doing something unique with Daredevil. Obviously, there are some pieces of the story that are very like, oh yeah, this is something that we've seen before. But there's a lot of pieces to it. The overarching piece is very new. It's very different, and it just feels like he's kind of phoning it in on this one. But
I don't feel like he's phoning it in. I just felt like this issue was kind of lesser than the others.
You're right.
And I loved seeing...
I love Zdarsky's writing. I think it's amazing.
Yeah. All the trust that he's kind of talking about between Robin and Batman, and it's like, I trust you, Tim Drake. You're going to get me where I need to go.
The Batman Robin stuff is much more interesting than everything else in this, and that's the only reason I still like this book. Is because we still got good Batman and Robin stuff. Batman has been without a Robin for a very long time. It's like whenever we get Batman, it's Batman, and then Nightwing might show up because of something, and this person might show up in this time. But this book very much feels like Batman and Robin. It feels like Tim Drake is actively working with Batman on a regular basis, even though obviously he has his own stuff. He's got his own book now and all of that, but it feels very Batman and Robin. And I've missed that for a while. And I love that it's Tim Drake, because I feel like Tim Drake has always gotten the short end of the stick on a lot of this, is that his character has always been the less interesting, even though he's the one who deserves to be Robin the most, because he's the one who went out and took it.
Arguably deserves to be Batman the most, too. The most detective, probably the smartest Robin. He's also got the skills to back all that stuff up. I love Tim Drake. I love the stuff going on with Robin. And the thing about Failsafe is he's not really a character. He's just a device to kind of dig into these issues, right? So I think that's kind of why him taking over the city feels weird.
Exactly.
Also, I'd love to see more Zur-En-Aw Batman, but it seems like he's moved on from that. Anyways,
last thing I do want to say, so this week, Once in Future, issue 30 came out. I have been following this series for a while. Issue 30 is the final issue. It's
is
the
this a
last
Batman
issue
comic? What is Once in Future?
It is not. It's a Boom Studios comic. Essentially, what it does is it takes place in England, and essentially the idea is that, hey, the stories about King Arthur, the stories about Robin Hood and his merry men, all of these stories are real. The reason that they don't run amok in our society today is because people only believe them to be stories and don't actually believe them to be real. So the cool thing in that is that what ends up happening is someone lets out that, hey, these things exist, and you have this Merlin who resurrects his King Arthur, but this King Arthur is isn't a pure King Arthur because he has multiple stories, because the mythos of King Arthur is very all over the place. It's not one story. It's like 4 different stories. Like you either have the sword and the stone, or you have this he pulled Excalibur from the Lady of the Lake. So you have all these conflicting stories.
Sometimes Guy Ritchie directs a movie about it, which is bad.
Corrupted him. It's essentially corrupted him. And so he is like a evil demon version of King Arthur trying to take over England. And so then you just start adding to it. You get the Green Knight. You get Beowulf. You get Robin Hood and the Merry Men. You get all of these. Different stories. And it's all drawn by Dan. What's his name? Dan Cora. He's the guy who is doing World's Finest. I can't remember his name right now. One of my favorite artists. He did Batman for a little bit. Really good, and it came to an amazing end. Kieran Gillen is the writer.
No kidding.
He wrote in the back. He was like, hey, this was supposed to only be a 6-issue miniseries. Obviously, we kind of went a little past that, but he was like, this was never a story that kept going. And as we kept doing more issues, it was mainly because we felt the story needed to keep going. And so finally we found an ending. Now, is this a ending? He's like, honestly, in a couple of years, we might take another crack and come back. Because as I was finally writing the last issue, I had multiple ideas pop in my head for more stories. But he's like, you know what? For now, we're going to let this lie. And I love when writers are able to do that. Perfect example, like Walking Dead, Invincible, both comics that were able to come to an end fully and completely. And those characters get to rest now. Like those characters get to, Invincible is going to be a comic that people want to read forever. And it's going to be hey, here's the contained story. You could read the whole character, because that character goes from, a kid to the leader of a nation and like old in the whole run. So
if only the characters from the Walking Dead show could have a rest, but no, they're gonna go off the different. They're not done yet.
No, I'm very excited about that, though. I'm really excited. Daryl's gonna be in Paris.
Dead City seems cool.
So that's gonna be dope. Yeah, Carol and
still
Negan,
waiting on the Rick Grimes movie, man. Where's that thing?
Negan is going. It's actually now a mini-series. Negan is now going to New York. Yeah, the Rick Grimes and Michonne show. Those are coming out, or it's now going to be a show. It's going to be a mini-series instead of 3 movies. That's going to be coming out. I'm really excited for Walking Dead show-wise. The comic is amazing. But yeah, But we're not here to talk about that. We need to talk about
we got
75 other shows that we have to watch. Let's start with She-Hulk.
Sure.
Let's start with She-Hulk.
Technically, it does come out first in line
because
of
it does
like
come
our
out first.
structure.
It does come out first.
Daredevil, let's go! Holy shit! It was so good.
It finally happened after 3 weeks of us going. It's probably going to come out this week. It's probably going to come out this week. It finally came out.
I remember talking about the pilot episode of this show and being like, dude, you know who's listed on all 10 episodes? Matt Murdock, Charlie Cox.
Yeah,
he's going to be a real big
bad call.
That was terrible.
Call, folks. Bad call.
Oh, my Lord. Landed with a bad take. Dude, we finally got him, though.
Okay. But, like, also this, I think the last 2 episodes are really where this show has finally come into its own. Really finally come into its own. It really feels like, okay, this is She-Hulk. And this episode was great. I honestly think this was the best episode.
Oh, without a doubt, the best.
And not even because of Daredevil. Like, he was a great part of this show, but, like, I think the She-Hulk stuff in this, we finally got her suit, which it's badass. It looks like she just jumped off the comic page.
It's okay. There's too much black.
Okay. What do you mean black? It's literally white and purple.
Is it purple? I feel like it's black.
No, it's purple.
Oh. If it's purple, I'll eat my words. Yeah, but on screen, it looked black, and I'm like, oh,
okay,
so much.
It was night. It was Daredevil. She's not going to be fighting crime during the day with Daredevil.
I got you. If it's purple, cool. I love purple. I'll take all the purple I can get.
It looks very close to her. Very comic accurate on what her suit is in the comics.
Yeah, her suit is simple, man. It's like not difficult. So
well, yeah, that's for sure. But like Daredevil was great. I love the suit. The suit looks great. I love the jokes about the suit. I thought that was great. I thought it was a great way of like. I thought that was a great way of being able to be like, because the best part is like. In the Daredevil show, you have Potter, who's the guy who designs his suit, right?
Yeah, where's Gladiator?
He's a simpleton and everything. But in this, you have this guy from LA who's the guy that designed his suit. So obviously, Matt's going to walked in there and was like, hey, I need a new suit. And like gave him the specifications. And the guy looked at it and goes, I'm not making all red. I'm adding color. I'm adding color to this. And like probably added the yellow to it. Like I feel like that was just something because we got what we got from that character. I just don't feel like Matt walking in going, this is red and black. That's all. That guy probably was like, no. I want to make it shine. I thought the suit looked amazing. Marvel did such a good job of showing Daredevil. This is very much obviously he's gonna make jokes because he's in a sitcom. Right. That is just gonna be it. But like this is a very much what we got of Matt Murdock was like, oh, okay, this can translate. This can translate to a serious show.
I feel like because of where we left him in his Netflix show, he was in a good place with Karen and Foggy. They were starting up the law firm again. I feel like it makes sense for him to be a little more joyous, a little more jokey. Yeah. And with the change in the color,
wasn't like cracking jokes. He wasn't Deadpool.
No,
he wasn't Deadpool. He wasn't cracking jokes.
It's kind of weird that he is teaming up with a Hulk, and he's fighting a Frogman. I think Matt realizes like this is not my typical Monday to Friday. This is not what I'm used to.
He's fighting goons.
There's a difference between goons and henchmen.
While also giving law advice, which I thought was hilarious.
Big fan of.
It just worked. Everything worked in this. Like the chemistry was great between the two.
I even liked how Matt shows up in court late. Yeah. Obviously, like Murdock is usually late. He makes a quick joke about being blind, and then he's like, "No, my taxi driver got lost." But I like the way that Jen Walters and Matt Murdock both seem very confident in a court of law. They didn't, for the sake of introducing Daredevil or for the sake of having She-Hulk seem superior, they didn't lessen any of their ability in the courtroom.
Her client was a dumbass.
Leapfrog is just self-destructive in so many ways. Incompetent, exactly. I wasn't on board with that designer character at first. I can't remember his name for the life of me. Do you have that designer? I'm gonna call him Jake. I wasn't on board with Jake initially because I was like, oh, this is really extra. But this episode, I liked him because he was throwing quips at Jen Walters in her costume, like, you're a tragedy. I hate you now because you're going to court with me, and like that dynamic was fun.
Yeah,
Leapfrog's costume, another banger.
That's great.
I'll tell you what, if this, I would definitely be on board with this show if it just kept introducing really small, not important, like F-list MCU characters like Leapfrog and Man Bull and Cavalier, and just have them do lawyer stuff with them.
She-Hulk has always been a street level. She's always dealt with street level criminals, so like I don't think she's ever gonna I hope it's gonna happen because we all know it's gonna happen. I don't want we don't want her to be on the Avengers. Like we want her to run into Daredevil. We want her to do that. But first off, before, like, at the end of the day, like, the biggest thing was like the way they translated how Daredevil fights on screen worked so well. Like there's things that you could obviously see that Netflix just didn't have the budget for, that Marvel was able to do.
Namely,
that I was very happy, excited.
Namely, his Billy Club. When he flings that thing behind him, knocks that dude out without even looking, like that. The way that kind of elongated and slapped that dude.
He jumps off of the parking garage, and then they look over, and he's just parkouring his way down.
Yeah,
awesome. Love that. I enjoyed this episode.
With a Marvel film budget, dude, that Daredevil could be so sweet. I felt like
it's gonna be sick.
Felt like the model for the Daredevil when he was doing those flips and stuff was a little bit like rubbery. I see people talking about that. I was fine with it because I just liked seeing him do those things.
Yeah.
But given proper budget and real good craftsmanship on that, dude, Born Again might be really good.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be. Yeah, I think it's gonna be great. I do really like. I like where this episode ends. I like that. Okay, we're about to find out. All right, fine. Like, there's an agenda being pushed here on like how we get certain things. So like the way Hulk King is like manipulating Jen is very just like meh. Like, I don't like it.
I was so high on Matt Murdock, like that last 5-minute scene just kind of washed over me.
Yeah, I just didn't care.
And I think the show realized that too, because she's like, "This is weird. Are we still going? It feels like we should stop." And then, I like that.
She was like, "Oh, next week's the finale." Like, that was really good.
Yeah.
I think, but the biggest thing is I do really like what it's setting up. Is it's setting up this idea that Banner said was like, hey, what did he say? Oh, he said, once you become a monster in someone's eyes, that can never go away. Yeah. And now we're seeing that, okay, people are she is freaking out because of this whole thing, rightfully so, but also she is a Hulk. So like when you Hulk out, people are going to start realizing, like, them getting scared. And so I thought that was really interesting. But yeah, no, overall, I think this was my favorite episode so far.
Easily.
I think this one, and then last week's episode, or the episode before this, I think was my second favorite.
Tell you what, dude, I know you're probably.
I'm very interested to see where this finale goes. I may stay up tonight.
I'm gonna get up early in the morning, 6 a.m. I'm gonna be up. I'm interested to see how this ends as well. Yeah. I got to know what's up with the Intelligentsia. I know that there was an Abomination Hulk rematch tease, which I'm kind of excited for, even though I really don't like the direction of those characters. But yeah, I'm gonna get up early. I know you're probably itching to talk about Rings of Power, because I listened to your solo podcast.
Yeah, I know.
And you were super excited about Mount Doom. I'd love to talk about it because episode 7, phenomenal.
Yeah,
Rings of Power right now is very, very solid.
Because next week, actually this Friday, is the finale. So honestly, I have no problem with putting off Rings of Power to talk about both of those episodes next time.
I think next episode we'll probably dedicate it I mean, the She-Hulk finale and Rings of Power
finale.
That'll be a big thing. And then comics. I know Daredevil is coming out next week.
So House of Dragon.
Or this week
is
Daredevil issue number 4.
This week. I just haven't picked it up.
Me neither.
Dude, House of Dragon was great though. What I will say is I think
very good. Woo!
I really like this episode. I think now that we've established, like, you know, the kid, like, you can time jump and the kids can be older, but it makes sense now. Mainly because Aegon doesn't have an eye. I'm used
to it too. So,
or not Aegon, the other kid. The other kid doesn't have an eye. So the minute I see anybody with an eye patch, I'm like, oh, I know who that is. Aemon. I know that's Aemon. I knew it. I was like, oh, I got it. All right. Dude, Viserys is. That actor is so freaking good.
Paddy Considine! Give my man the Emmy! He deserves it! And everybody knows it. George R.R. Martin even knows it.
So good, in fact, that the writer of the show or the show director, whatever.
R.I.P. to our listeners' ears. I'm sorry. I'm so excited about King Viserys. He's the best part of the show.
The Viserys in this is very different from the one in the books. At least this is what I was reading. And
I don't know.
The director apparently, when George R.R. Martin watched this, he literally sent the guy a text and said, "Yeah, exactly. Your Viserys is better than mine."
Dude, I want to go back and rip up those pages. Is what George R.R. Martin said.
Awesome.
That's high praise.
Awesome. Like that's how you know that, like, at the end of the day, the director got the soul of what Martin was trying to portray with his character in a better way than Martin did it.
And this whole episode is almost entirely on Viserys Targaryen. He has that great introduction in the throne room where Ramin Djawadi's score is just electric when he steps through that gate, and you know Viserys is on his last legs. Like, this is probably the last time he will step foot in this chamber, the last time he will sit on the Iron Throne. And man, they knew it and they went out with a bang. This is all about Viserys in this moment. Even like the little squabbles between the greens and the blacks, everything just fell away as Viserys made his entrance. I absolutely love that. And then the only thing that made it just that much better is, like, you know, he's going to sit on that throne, but he stumbles, right? He stumbles, and Daemon, his brother, his fellow Targaryen, they've been at odds since the very beginning of this show. True. His brother helps him to the throne. So special. And I hear that was improv. Fantastic.
Cool. I thought that was cool. Yeah, the biggest laugh I have with this show is that Daemon is the only character that does not age.
Yeah, apparently not. He's the same.
Apparently, he's literally supposed to be like 50, and he does not look any different from what he did before.
You know, the thing about the Targaryens, they've got their special powers. He's fire resistant, right? Viserys has his dreams. Helena is apparently also a dreamer on the greens. You know, Helena Hightower.
Oh yeah.
So they got their things. If a Targaryen doesn't age, whatever.
It was a very good show. Very good episode. Oh goodness.
We got 2 more episodes of Dragon?
The kids are great. Yeah, we got 2 more because it's 10. The kids are great.
Dude, Aemon.
Honestly, Aemon.
Aemon got on Vhagar and immediately aged like 30 years. Like, we didn't talk about the previous episode of House of the Dragon, but he had that little scuffle with his siblings and his cousins or whatever. Got his eye slashed. He took it like a champ. He's like, I don't give a shit. I got the biggest dragon in the world. Like, I'm take my other eye. It don't matter. And in between these episodes, I swear, Aemon just aged 30 years. He's like a 50-year-old, and he's willing to stand up to Daemon almost. Like, he's almost at that point where he's like, I'm going to challenge my badass uncle, right? Their little standoff in the
I think it was
at the dinner scene. Really, really solid.
I have nothing. I have no more words. I like, dude. Like that's the thing is like I really enjoy House of Dragon, but like
Same.
it has been one of those shows that like I kind of have to let other people take the kind of dissection because like I watch it for a very differently than I think than most people do, and so like I'm watching it for other things, and so like for me I just feel like sometimes like the dissection doesn't make sense. Like the acting, like I could talk about like just how people portray that and like how the episode is, but like
I feel like the roles are reversed when it comes to your stance. Sure. When it comes to your stance on Rings of Power and my stance on House of the Dragon, our roles are reversed. So like when we talk about House of the Dragon, you're like, I like it, but it's like not my thing. Same thing with me with the Rings of Power. I get so stoked on House of the Dragon, and I know you get so stoked on Lord of the Rings.
Well, and that's the fun part. At the end of the day, that's the cool part that we get to do this. We get to have that conversation.
I literally think I could just make a side podcast on House of the Dragon right now.
Joe, anytime I talk to Joe, he like starts talking to me because he's also reading
Dude, I ain't got time for the books straight up, but I wish I had.
He's been
time.
Reading the books, and so he's like, "Oh my gosh!" Which shout out Joe because he brought up a really fun. He brought up a really fun like idea / theory.
Yeah.
So the books that House of the Dragon is based off of are essentially written as they are the stories of the Maesters. Essentially the Maesters writing down the stories of the history. Right. This
like a chronology
this show is obviously going, hey, here is what happened at that time. Like this is essentially the histories of it. So Joe came up with this great idea that what if this is all being told by Bran?
Oh jeez.
As the three-eyed raven.
Stepping back in time and witnessing all this.
All of this, and then is telling this to like Tarly, like Sam.
I think that could be cool. And it definitely feels like the House of the Dragon series. Well, yeah, I mean, because the three-eyed raven is just omnipotent and he can just see everything. Like obviously it makes sense if he's going back, and especially with the rats. Did he mention anything about the rats? Because the rats are always present. Maybe he's warging as the three-eyed raven into the rats. I mean, I could see that happening. But like the way the presentation of House of the Dragon very much so feels like just different chapters of a massive book, right? It's kind of like the highlights because you got the time jumps in there, and it's like, oh, they mentioned the battle with the Stepstones has been going on this whole time, but like here's a point in the episode where Laenor and his boyfriend, they're going back to the Stepstones. It's like they mention little things that are really pivotal historic parts of the history of Westeros. And then obviously the Targaryens, the Greens, and the Blacks, we see kind of they hit on these big moments between these two families, right? Obviously King Viserys taking the throne again, deciding once and for all who is the heir to Driftmark. The death of Vaemond. Wow. And it definitely feels like those are just the most important chunks of this chronological account by the Maesters. I like that theory.
Oh, for sure.
It makes sense. For
sure. No, it would be cool. It would be fun. But like I also, again, it's one of those things that I just don't know if it would work for the show where the show's at. And that's okay. But it was a fun theory, and I was like, oh, that would be cool.
Yeah, I dig it.
But yeah, next week, guys, we'll talk. Do you want to talk a little bit about Andor, or do we want to wait? Because I will watch it once we're done with all of these shows.
This is actually a really big episode. I'd love to just mention a couple of things.
Yeah, do it.
Namely, so like I'm in deep with Star Wars, right? It's like my bread and butter. I follow all the YouTube channels. I try to stay updated with what is being posted by the big three, which is like Theory, Eckhart's Ladder, the other one, whatever. But like, there's a thing happening right now on YouTube where Star Wars is at its lowest point trending wise. Like these videos are not getting hits. It's not trending. People are not talking about Star Wars right now, which is a shame because, you know, obviously Andor is one of those shows where it's like, it's not Obi-Wan, it's not Boba Fett. You know, people are not going to know who Cassian Andor is unless they're hardcore, sweaty Star Wars nerds like me.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because Andor, it feels very much like Rogue One, which makes sense because it's got the showrunner behind it. Dan Gilroy is writing a lot of these episodes. I think he was maybe an executive producer or something on Rogue One. I think he wrote a little bit of it too. But this very much feels like a consistent vision with Rogue One, which is largely regarded as one of the better parts of the Disney Star Wars era, right? I love Rogue One, so this is right in my ball game. Andor.
I love Rogue One.
It's some of the best Star Wars content we've gotten in a long time.
Nice.
Depending on what you think of like the sequels. If you're a big fan of Last Jedi, you're going to be like, oh, well, that was great. Personally, I don't. I feel like Rogue One is the last time I really felt super stoked on Star Wars. You know, Mandalorian is great. Andor is just my bag, dude. It's so dramatic and it's expansive and it lets the story brew naturally. It's got incredible writing. It gives you characters that are not one note. You know, they're so multi-dimensional, which is interesting because it just kind of drops characters left and right. Like these are not rebels who are going to stick around. This was a heist episode. So all the stuff that we've been leading to for the past 5 episodes culminates in episode 6. This heist goes down. These characters we've gotten to know for 4 episodes are gone. They died. They kill half of these guys. And it's sad because you're like, we've had some really deep conversations with these guys and now they're gone. But that's just solid storytelling. You know, it's like, we're not going to just throw these guys away. We're going to give them time and then we're going to make their deaths build up. Andor, like these and also Vel and also Luthen Rael, which is Stellan Skarsgård's character. You know, they didn't focus outside the Aldhani mission all too much this episode because this was the culmination of all that happening. But everything that went down in Aldhani, the raid against the Imperial facility there, I don't want to talk too much about kind of the eye and what happens with the eye, but if you've seen any of the imagery from this, you know, stellar body that's kind of giving them cover while they infiltrate, is some of the most gorgeous cinematography I've seen in Star Wars. It'll last centuries. People are going to be talking about the eye and how these comments go down and just the way that they captured all of that and the starships and everything. And yeah, I have nothing but praise for this show right now. I thought this episode was great. It just keeps getting better and better and better. And just to cap it all off, we got to see the Imperial Senate, which is something we haven't seen ever. It feels like it's pulled right out of the prequels, that large chamber with all the discs and all the senators who talk. We've gotten little teases here and there about the Imperial Senate because Mon Mothma is up to her eyeballs in scandals and spies, and this whole world is just really dangerous for her. And since everything that went down on Aldhani, people are talking, and it's getting the wheels turning, and the Imperial Senate is about to erupt. And we know in episode 4, The New Hope, by that point, the Imperial Senate's gone. And it's really interesting. So I love this episode. Episode 6, it's fantastic.
Yeah,
guys, please watch Andor and support it because it's great. And I hope Disney listens to that feedback. So
I will absolutely be watching it again. It's just with everything coming out. Blacklist just dropped a new season, and that has been a show that I have been obsessed with.
Shout out to my dad who loves the Blacklist.
So I was like, I saw that, and so then I've been like trying to watch episodes of that. And dude, it's just there's so much going on. Then it
really is.
Call of Duty is coming out in 2 weeks, and so I've been trying to like play some. I got
Gotham Knights
last thing. Gotham Knights. Last thing. I started watching, and I got hooked on the John Adams miniseries on HBO Max.
Oh, Paul Giamatti
series, yes. Yeah. Holy cow, it is so good. And so it got me super hyped on the American Revolution. So then I have the remastered vision. No, I love Turn though.
Love Turn.
I have the remastered version of Assassin's Creed 3.
Oh shit.
And that's the first Assassin's Creed I ever played. And so I've been jumping back into that and playing it again, and love it.
You know what? You bring up a great point. I mean, we've been saying in our podcast, like, this is a huge busy season. We got 4 shows to talk about. Comics have never been more busy for me anyways. And it's kind of the perfect storm to bury Star Wars. Like, it's at an all-time low. The fans are divided after the Disney sequels and everything. Obi-Wan Kenobi, kind of a letdown for a lot of people, kind of great for others. So it's just furthering that divide. And now you have Andor, this obscure property. It's just getting buried by Lord of the Rings, by all the MCU news, House of the Dragon. And it's a shame. As a hardcore Star Wars fan, it kind of hurts because I'm like, this is great, but nobody's talking about it. Yeah.
At the end of the day, the cool part is like, that's the greatest thing about streaming. These things are still there.
They're still there.
That's the cool part. They're still there, and like
YouTubers are pumping content, and it's all good.
Andor still has plenty of episodes after a lot of these.
It does, and season 2 is already confirmed. So
yeah, so that's gonna be cool. I'm really excited. I will definitely check this out, especially because this week, Rings of Power and She-Hulk are both over.
Exactly. So once that's we're gonna have a little more time.
I have a little bit more free space. One of the things that we are going to try to do, because as Landon said, Gotham Knights is coming out next week.
I believe so. We should put that on a calendar.
We've talked about it, and I know I pre-ordered it because I was like, you know what, I want some of these whatever skins they're giving.
I might actually pre-order it too. I'm stoked. 21st.
But he and I are going to do a playthrough. And because you can do 2-person co-op, and so I think we're gonna try to do that, and we will record. I will record gameplay, and we can put it up on the channel and make it just kind of like a little Let's Play series that we do like on a weekend or whatnot, whenever we get a chance to.
You know what's funny? We don't have a color for video game releases on our calendar. We need to.
We need to get that up.
We need to get that going. Anyways, 21st.
It would be fun because I'm gonna have to pull just. Gotham Knights comes out like the 21st, and then
same day as Black Adam too. It's a big day.
Because I pre-ordered Modern Warfare, I get the single player campaign a week early. So that comes out the 22nd. So I want to play that. And then the 28th, Modern Warfare comes out. And then in November is when Warzone 2 is going to drop. So I am going to be on a COD high, which I'm really happy all of these shows are finishing up. So I'll have the free time that I use for shows will now just be Xbox.
For sure. Tell you what, we got to add a video game section to our calendar, dude.
Yes, we do. Because
I didn't know about any of those releases. But yeah, Gotham Knights, Black Adam. We do have one more podcast episode between now and when all that stuff drops. So next week we will talk about Rings of Power. We'll talk about She-Hulk in depth. And right after Black Adam and Gotham Knights is the House of the Dragon finale. So our podcast that drops, that we record on the 26th, that drops on the 28th, is going to be heavy content load.
Love it.
But I'm ready.
Love it. We're excited. Next week also we've got comics. This week dropped Daredevil. Next week we'll have some other stuff dropping. I don't entirely remember what's dropping.
Dude, Vanish number 2 came out.
Hulk is going to drop. Vanish number 2 did not come out. I would have got a notification on that.
I looked it up. What? I put it on the calendar.
It already came out?
I wrote it down for today. Maybe it does come out next week. Well,
hold on. Let's look. I'm going to take
I wrote it down for the 12th. And I picked up Vanish number 1, by the way, too. I haven't read it yet, but I will because I'm interested.
No, there's only Vanish 1 right now.
Really?
So it probably doesn't come out, dude.
That's crazy.
So when it was supposed to drop, it said it was supposed to drop the week before it actually dropped. So it could be one of those things where it's been pushed back. So if it was supposed to come out this week, it might come out next week.
Oh, okay.
So I'm excited for that too.
I'm new to Image Comics, so I don't know what they're doing over there.
For sure. But yeah, guys, thanks for coming and joining us for another episode. Let us know what you think of She-Hulk. Let us know, let us know what you think of House of Dragon and Rings of Power. Like, let's talk about it. We wanna hear it. And if you need some homework, I would absolutely go check out Once and Future. It's a fun read. It's a quick read. A lot of those issues are smaller than normal Marvel DC comic issues. But yeah, it's only 30 issues. Like, come on, just read it and be done. If you're not collected editions,
check out these comic books too. I got to tell you, this year has been a lot of changes in my life, and I love the addition of reading comics. It's been really fun, and it's not actually that hard to keep up with these books and what's happening. As I'm finding out, like for the longest time, that's why I avoided comic books. But now I'm like, I'm all in.
There's also
I'm adding books every month.
To be honest, too, there's a couple YouTube channels that go buy comics, but if you need to check up and read up, there are some YouTube channels that like literally will just like have the page and it will scroll down the page with music behind it.
Benny from Comic Historian and Rob from Comics Explained. Those are my guys, dude.
Comic Historian is great. I love that because I'll like literally just do that. I'll put one of those on and be like, oh, I don't remember what this storyline was. And they leave stuff out, but you get the gist of it.
I've been watching Rob's coverage of the Axe event because it's super confusing. And you mentioned Kieran Gillen before. Really good at it. He's great at the breakdowns and everything. But like Kieran Gillen in the writing that he does, there's so much going on with the Eternals, the X-Men, the Avengers. Yeah. I get confused when I read Axe, so I'm like, Rob, I need you. Where's your video? Anyways, we should probably wrap this up.
But with that, guys, have a great rest of your week, and we will see you guys on the flip. Later.
Thanks, guys.